Somewhere beneath the entity behind a locked basement door, a young man sits trembling on the floor. He rocks back and forth, tears stream down his face. His breathing becomes shallow and uneven as he whispers to himself like he's trying to escape his own mind. Only a few feet away, another student watches him suffer. No comfort, no sympathy, no humanity, just silence and satisfaction. What makes this story terrifying is not where it happened. It's who these people were. They weren't criminals. They weren't violent extremists. They weren't trained soldiers or sadistic prison guards. They were ordinary college students, young men with normal lives, friends, classmates, people who had never shown signs of cruelty before. And in less than 1 week, they transformed into something almost unrecognizable. This is the true story of the Stanford prison experiment, one of the most disturbing psychology studies ever conducted, an experiment so psychologically destructive that it had to be shut down early before things became even worse. But the most horrifying part is this. The experiment suggests that under the right conditions, almost anyone could become cruel, even you. And before we continue, if you enjoy dark psychological stories and disturbing real-life experiments like this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the deeper we go into the human mind, the darker things become. It was the summer of 1971. A psychological entity wanted to answer a dangerous question. What happens when ordinary people are given total power over others? Do evil people create corrupt systems? Or do corrupt systems create evil people? To find out, researchers placed a newspaper ad asking for male college students willing to participate in a prison study. More than 70 students applied, but only 24 were selected. Every participant went through careful psychological screening. No criminal records, no history of violence, no mental illness, no dangerous behavior. These were healthy, intelligent young men from normal families, the perfect test subjects. The students were randomly divided into 2 groups. Half would become prisoners. The other half would become guards. They would live inside a fake prison built in the basement of Stanford's psychology department. The experiment was scheduled to last 2 full weeks. At first, everything felt almost ridiculous. The guards laughed while trying on their uniforms. The prisoners joked with each other while being processed. Some participants even smiled at the cameras. Nobody took it seriously, but then the prison doors closed, and something changed. The guards were dressed in military-style uniforms. They wore mirrored sunglasses that completely hid their eyes. The prisoners were stripped of their names. Instead, they were assigned numbers. Think about that for a second. No names, only numbers. A tiny detail, but psychologically devastating. Because once someone loses their identity, they slowly stop feeling human. The prisoners were forced to wear uncomfortable smocks and rubber sandals. Chains were attached to their ankles so they could hear themselves walk. Every detail was carefully designed to make them feel powerless. And the guards? They were given only one instruction: maintain order. Physical violence was forbidden. Everything else was up to them. The first day passed quietly. But on day 2, the nightmare began. The prisoners rebelled. They barricaded their cell doors with beds. They shouted insults at the guards. They refused to obey commands. The guards panicked. And then something terrifying happened. Instead of asking the researchers for help, they became aggressive. The guards grabbed fire extinguishers and sprayed prisoners with freezing chemicals. They ripped beds from the cells. They dragged prisoners into solitary confinement. And none of this was part of the experiment's script. Nobody ordered them to do it. They chose it themselves. That's what makes this experiment so disturbing. The cruelty appeared naturally. As the days passed, the abuse escalated. The guards woke prisoners in the middle of the night for pointless roll calls that lasted hours. They forced inmates to perform exhausting exercises for tiny mistakes. Some prisoners were ordered to clean toilets with their bare hands. Others were denied blankets or forced to stand naked during punishment. One guard became especially feared. The prisoners later described him as openly sadistic. He enjoyed humiliating them. He smiled while giving punishments. And remember, this was not a real prison. These were students pretending. So why did it feel so real? Because the human brain adapts frighteningly fast to power. When people are given authority without consequences, morality can slowly disappear. The uniforms helped. The mirrored glasses helped. The prison environment helped. The guards stopped seeing prisoners as classmates. They started seeing them as less than human. And the prisoners changed too. At first, they resisted. Then they became quiet. Then emotionally broken. Some prisoners cried uncontrollably. Others developed severe anxiety attacks. One prisoner screamed so violently that researchers feared he was having a mental breakdown. He begged to leave. But even more disturbing, some prisoners who were offered freedom chose to stay. Why? Because they had become psychologically trapped. The prison no longer felt fake. It had become their reality. Imagine entering an experiment for easy money and slowly forgetting you can walk away. That's how deep the psychological manipulation became, and the darkness didn't stop with the students. Eventually, even the researchers became consumed by the experiment. Philip Zimbardo entered the study as a scientist, but slowly he stopped acting like one. Instead of protecting participants, he became obsessed with maintaining control over the prison. He wasn't observing the experiment anymore. He was living inside it. He became the prison superintendent, and once that happened, there was nobody left to stop the abuse. Think about how horrifying that is. The person responsible for safety had become part of the system, causing harm. The prison swallowed everyone inside it. Day after day, the basement grew darker emotionally. Prisoners shuffled through hallways with empty expressions. Guards barked orders with increasing confidence. The line between acting and reality completely disappeared, and nobody realized how dangerous things had become. Nobody except one person. On the sixth day, a graduate student named Entity People, Christina Maslach, American social psychologist, entered the prison to conduct interviews. The moment she walked inside, she was horrified. She saw exhausted prisoners being humiliated by guards who looked proud of their authority. What shocked her most was that everyone else had started treating the abuse as normal. The cruelty had become routine, but she hadn't been inside long enough to accept it. She confronted Zimbardo directly. "How can you see what's happening here and not stop it?" That single question changed everything. For the first time, Zimbardo stepped outside the role he had fallen into, and he realized something terrifying. The experiment was completely out of control. The study was shut down immediately. It was supposed to last 14 days. Only six days. That's all it took for ordinary students to psychologically destroy one another. And decades later, the experiment still haunts people for one reason. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about human nature. Prisons, wars, cults, dictatorships. The Stanford prison experiment revealed how quickly identity can disappear when fear and power take control. It showed that evil doesn't always arrive looking monstrous. Sometimes it arrives wearing a uniform, smiling, believing it's simply doing its job. And maybe that's the scariest part of all. The guards weren't born monsters. The prisoners weren't weak. They were normal, just like the people you pass every day, just like your classmates, just like your friends, just like you. So ask yourself honestly, If someone handed you authority with no consequences, if society told you another group of people mattered less, if everyone around you accepted cruelty as normal, how long would it take before you changed too? Would you stay kind, or would the system slowly reshape you without you even noticing? Because the Stanford prison experiment was never really about prisons. It was about human nature. So before you leave, comment below. Do you believe ordinary people can become cruel under the right conditions? Or do you think evil already exists inside certain individuals from the beginning? And if you want more dark psychological experiments, unsolved mysteries, and terrifying true stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because some of the scariest monsters in history weren't monsters at all. They were ordinary people placed in the wrong situation.